JavaScript variable operator and statements. Like many other programming language, JavaScript has variables. Variables can be thought of as named containers. You can place data into this container and then refer to the data simply by naming the container. Before you use a variable in JavaScript program, you have to declare it first. Values are declared with the var keyword as follows. So what we are trying to say is you declare a variable in JavaScript making use of the keyword var, and that variables you can always call onto it throughout your JavaScript. Example is you can declare a variable 2. You said variable a equals to 2, variable b equals to 3. Whenever you are calling a, it means you need the value 2, and whenever you are calling b, it means 3. So throughout your program, whenever you want to call 2, all you need to do is you should say a, and when you want to call 3, you should say b. You may by the time we continue right now, you are going to understand what we are trying to talk about. So but for the start, all you need to know is whenever you want to declare a variable in JavaScript, you make use of the var. So this is an example. I believe in this code now, we declare a variable name money, and we also declare another variable, we call it name. This is open script and a closing script. Normally I've told you that whenever you use script, there has to be the type test/j JavaScript, and also there has to be another attribute here, namely the language attributes, and that will also contain JavaScript. But for the course of this tutorial, we are not putting that language here, but just note the normal way to write your script opening tag is to put those two keywords, the type and the language. So look at what happened now. We declare a variable var money, and we also declare another variable var name. But since both money and name, they are all variable, instead of you to be separating them with a semicolon, you can use comma to separate them, and at the end of the day you put semicolon. So it's still the same thing as saying var. This statement, what I'm trying to say is that this statement is still the same thing as this statement. When you want to declare two or more variables, all you need to do is you just declare var, then the variables comma another variables comma another one comma another one, like that, and at the end you are going to end it with a semicolon. So instead of you to say var money semicolon, another tab, you say var name semicolon, it's a waste of time repeating var every time. What if you want to declare like 10 variables? Will you have to be naming them var every time? So it's better for you to just declare that var once, then whatever variable name you want to use, separate the other variable names with comma, and at the end of the day end it with a semicolon. So storing the values in a variable is called variable initialization. You can do variable initialization at the time of variable creation or later point in time when you need that variables as follows. So before we practice that example, we have to first go to open our FTP. So go to Ewebtutor FTP. So it asks for your host, then you can input your IP address. Can input your IP address. My username for cPanel that Ewebtutor gave me during the course of my registration is market, and my password, make sure you use your hand to type it so that there won't be mistake. You can find that inside the email we send you during the course of your registration. So I logged in. So I'll go to www directory. So let me create a new file. Let me name it java2.html, because I've told you a JavaScript is not a standalone program. You can embed it inside a HTML, or inside the HTML you can refer to it from an external JavaScript. So right now let's see our JavaScript. So look at it. We declare two variables here now by saying var the first variable, then we separate it with the second variable. So what I'm trying to explain here is you can initialize a variable, that is, you can store a value inside a variable at the point when you are declaring it or after the declaration. What I mean is this: if I want my variable money to be 20, at the point of declaring it, I can say var money is equals to 20, and var name I can say is equals to 10. So this to tell you that I create a variable money, I stored 20 inside that variable money, and I also create a variable name, I store 10 inside that variable name. Don't get confused. Before the end of this section, you understand everything we are trying to write. So, but instead of declaring it this way and initializing is, it means storing a value inside a variable you've created. Creating a variable, you are going to use var, but when you want to store value inside the variable you've created, that's when we talk about initialization. So initialization, you can initialize a variable at the point of creation. Right now you are creating this variable money, you are just creating this money. That's why you say var money. So you are initializing it in the course of the creation. So but another way you can initialize a variable is after you have created the variable. Example is this: let's say you have var money and var name. You have already created this variable now, but you don't want to store a value inside it during the course of creation. So after you create it, you can now say money is equals to 20. Then I've told you, you always end it with semicolon, and name equals to what? 10. But make sure you already declare the variable. So once you declare the variable, then you can now initialize it. That is, say you can store value inside the variable. So this statement that you have here, even though it's like 3 lines, it still equals to this statement. It's still the same thing. But the thing is, in this case now, you store a value at the point of creating that variable, where in this case you've created the variable, then you now store the values. It's still the same thing, but this is very fast. This process is very fast. So that's just what we are trying to explain. Yeah, look at this now. Look at this code. Yeah, we create a variable, we call it name. At the point of initialization, at the point of creation, we initialize it with Ali. We said the name is Ali. We create another variable, we call it money, but we didn't initialize it at the point of creation. It was after we create the variables that we now try to initialize money as what? 2000.50. So it's still talking about the previous examples. So note, use the var keyword only for declaration or initialization, once for the life of any variables in a document. What we are trying to say is, you can say var name and later you now say var name again. It's not possible, because you can't declare name twice. So when you want to declare, you can either declare another thing, but you can't declare what you've already declared. So you can only declare a particular name once. So you should not declare same variables twice. So JavaScript variable scope. The scope of a variable is the region of your program in which it is defined. JavaScript variables will have two scopes: the global variables and the local variables. A global variable has global scope, which means it is defined everywhere in your JavaScript code, while local variables will be visible only within a functions where it is defined. Function parameters are also local to that functions. Within the body of a functions, a local variables take precedence over a global variables with the same name. If you declare a local variables or function parameter with the same name as a global variables, you effectively hide the global variables. So let's explain what we are trying to say here. Just know something. You don't have to, don't convince yourself. A local variables are variables that you declare inside a function. Example like this now, this is a function. This function now is check scope. So any function that you declare, any variables you declare inside this function now is what referred to as a local variables. A local variable are variables that are what? They are declared inside a function. So right now the variables we declare inside this function is what? My var. So my var now is a local variables, and any variables that you declare which is not present inside a form is inside a function in JavaScript is what referred to as a global variables. Example is these variables. Because these variables now is not present inside any function, then we call it a global variables. Right now, look at it now. We say var my var. The same my var that we use as a global variable is the same my var that we use as a local variable. So what we are trying to say is this: in this case, when you try to write document.write my var, it will be the local variable that is going to show. It will be local that you are going to have here now if you run this code. Why? Because the local variable will supersede the global variables, because this function now is local itself. So everything you declare local in it will also be local. But let's now say after this function now, you now decide to call function, you now decide to call document.write my var. So what do you think is going to display now? It's going to display global. Why? Because here you declare var my var, and this var now, my var now is a global variable, and you say that you assign it to what? Global. So later in this function now, you declare another variable my var, you apply it to what? Local. You say document.write, that is, you should print the value inside my var, and that value, remember, you store the value inside my var as local. That value that it will print out to be what? Local inside this function. But outside the function, since outside the function you've already declared the variable my var as global, so the variable my var global will be what will be displayed throughout the JavaScript, provided is not present inside a function. What I'm trying to say in essence is that when you declare a function, when you declare a variable inside a function, it is a local variable, and when you declare a variable outside a function, it is a global variables. So JavaScript variable names. While naming your variable in JavaScript, keep the following rules in mind. You should not use any of the JavaScript reserved keyword as variable name. What do we refer to as this? For example, now you want to create a variable name. Let's say you want to create a variable name. You now say var, the variable name, you now say document dot write document.write. You can create a variable name as document.write because document.write is already a function in JavaScript. Or you say var alert. Alert is already a function. It's already a keyword inside JavaScript. So you can't use any keyword that is present inside JavaScript to create a variable name. There will be an error. But you can create a variable name with this. You can create it with this. You can create it with name, because they are not keyword in JavaScript. So you can use a keyword to create a JavaScript, as in to create a variable in JavaScript. That's the first thing. Second thing, JavaScript variable names should not start with numerical. They can end with numerical, but it has to start with alphabets, then it can now end with numerical, and later alphabet can be there. It can be mixed. Both alphabet and numerical can mix together, but it must not start with what? Numerical. So a JavaScript variable name must not start with, you can't have something like this. It's not possible. So it has to start with alphabet, then later numerical can be there. They must begin with a letter or the underscore character. That means a variable name in JavaScript can begin with a letter or alphabet or underscore. This symbol now that you are seeing here now is an underscore symbol. Is an underscore symbol. So you can start the variable name in Java. You can name a variable starting with an underscore in JavaScript. Also, for example, 123 test is invalid because I've told you 123 cannot start a numeric from 0 to 9 cannot start a name, a JavaScript variable name, but underscore can start. So this is valid because underscore starts, then later you have 123. So this is valid because I've told you it's only letter and underscore that can start a variable name in JavaScript. Then another thing is JavaScript variable name are case sensitive. For example, JavaScript variable name are case sensitive. For example, if you say var, you now say name is equals to global, you now say document dot write name. By the time you run this code, you won't see any output. Why? Because you say var name, you have assigned global as this name, but now you say document dot write name. But note, this name that you say you should write, you've not declared it. You may be worried that, but I've declared name. The name that you put here, everything is small letter, but the name that you declare is what? It has the first letter starts with what? Capital letter. So if you want it to write the value that is inside this name, then that means you have to make sure that this small letter, it has capital letter. So this time around it's going to print out what? Global. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that always note the capitalization when you are creating a variable name. So if you start anything with capital letter or you end it with capital letter, make sure whenever you want to call that thing, like maybe you want to use an alert to call it, or you want to use a document dot write to call it, or you want to do maybe addition calculation, make sure you use the right capitalization of that variable names. It's very important. So right now I've told you that you can make use of Google research, or you can make use of JavaScript research keyword to create a variable name. Example is the alert, is the document dot write. They are all reserved names. So but right now Ewebtutor we give you list of reserved names, a lot of reserved names that we have in JavaScript, so that you will not make that mistake of using a reserved keyword to create a variable name. Like right now, a reserved keyword in JavaScript is interface. You can't say var interface. It's not possible because interface is a keyword. So just study this keyword so that you don't use them when you are creating your variable name. So another thing that we are going to talk about is the operator. What is an operator? Simple answer can be given using expression. 4 plus 5 equals to 9. The plus that is there is what we refer to as the operator. Here 4 and 5 are called the operands. So the 4, anything that you plus or you add together, any numbers that you plus or you add together, that number is what refers to as the operand. And what the plus that is between them or the minus that is between them is what referred to as the operator. JavaScript language supports the following types of operator: the arithmetic operator, those are the plus, minus, divide, multiplication. We have the comparison operator, like if A is equals to B, do this, else. That's as in you are trying to compare. Comparison operator is when you are using all these greater than, lesser than, all those kind of things out. Then we have the logical operator, we have the assignment operator, and we have the conditional or ternary operator. So let's look at them one by one. So let's start with the arithmetic operator. There are following arithmetic operators supported by JavaScript language. Assume that A holds 10 and variable B holds 20. Then if you use the operator plus, we have the operator plus, we have the operator minus, we have the operator times, we have the operator divide, we have the operator modulus. I believe you understand what it means by modulus. If you say 4 modulus 3, what will that give you? 4 modulus 3 will give you 1. Remainder is what referred to as modulus. So when you divide something, whatever remainder that thing gives you is what refers to as modulus. So 4 divided by 3 is 1. Remainder what? Remainder 1. So that remainder is what referred to as modulus. Then we have the increment operator, we have the decrement operator. So let's write a simple JavaScript example that shows us everything. So let's use this example. They said var variable a holds 10. So let's start. I believe you can write the program. So JavaScript. So we declare a variable, we call it what? A. Let's use capital letter because during the question they make use of capital letter. They say variable a is equals to what? Holds 10. Var b holds 20. Var b holds 20. That is, we initialize it with 20. So we now say a plus b gives. So let's say another variable. Let's say var c is equals to. So we say a plus b, abi. The first question is what? A plus b. Let's say var c equals to a plus b. So right now, what are we supposed to have in C? So if we document dot write C, we should have 30. Because why? A we already know is 10. B we already know is 20. So a plus b, 10 plus 20, we have to store it in another variable. That's why we declare another variable called variable C. Although in the question there is nothing like C, but we know that the values that we have for a and b, when you add them together, we have to store it inside another variable. That's why we use our own initiative to create another variable called C. So right now we know var C equals to a plus b. So if we use document dot write C now. So let's save this program and see what's and see our outputs. See what we have. So let's open our site. So let's log in. I don't know my website. I don't know it offhand. So that's why I'm trying to log into the Ewebtutor account so that I'll be able to get my URL. So what's my username is market and my password. So if once everything is correct, I should be able to log into my account. So this is my domain URL, so I can visit it. Then what's the name of the file that we just created? java2.html. So instead of me typing it here, I can just click on javascript.html. So there is no output. Why? Definitely there is an error. So to troubleshoot that error, we'll look at our code. What's supposed to be here that is not there? The first thing that we have to look at is we have script type test slash, then we're supposed to have language. So that means maybe something wrong with our code. Our code isn't supposed to have language, because if everything works well, since you say document.write, and I've told you that document.write is to print output, so the language should be what? JavaScript. So this can cause our error, the reason we have the error. And the second thing that can cause the error is we use var C. The C here is what? Is capital letter. But when we are using our document.write, we make use of what? Small letter. So we have to change this small letter C to capital letter C, because small letter C doesn't exist. You've not declared any variable named small letter C. So that is why, that may be the reason we didn't have a good output. That's why everything is empty. So right now we must use capital letter C. So let's save this. So if the problem is not this, the problem will be this. So that is why I just correct the two, so that we'll just run it. And so that's the way you would troubleshoot your program. In case you write a program and you think this is the kind of output that you're supposed to have, and you're having different outputs, then you can check your code and see if there's a mistakes that you made. So let's refresh this page now. We should have 30 if all is well. Can you see? We have 30 now. So that's to tell you that that's the plus that is there in between a plus b is what referred to as the operator. So a b stands for operand. So another thing is we can have this subtract operand. So the plus, the addition operand is plus, the subtract operand in JavaScript is minus. So if we have this also, if we save this and refresh our page, we should have minus 10. Is that correct? Minus 10. So another thing that we can have is the multiplication, division. You can try this yourself. So let's talk about the modulus. It's just the symbol for modulus. The symbol for modulus in JavaScript is percentage. That's the symbol. So in between a and b, just put a percentage. What output is supposed to have? It's supposed to have output of what? Of 0. Because if 10 divide 20, what will you have? You have what remainder will you have? If 10 divided by 20, you have remainder 0. So our output should be what? Will be 0. Our output will be 0. The program hasn't saved. We have 10 percentage. Is it a percentage b? Sorry, b percentage a should be the question. B percentage a. So let's save this and refresh our web page. So let's save this and refresh our web page. Let's go back to Java 2. So if we refresh our web page now, we should have 0. So because 20 divided by 10 we give what? 2. Remainder what? Remainder 0. So the remainder is what we refer to as modulus. 20 divided by 10 we give 2. Remainder what? 0. So that 0 is what we refer to as modulus. So our modulus 0 will be stored inside C. So we write C out. So just note, when you use verse C capital letter here, whenever you want to write it, you must use capital letter. But it's possible I want my result to come out in an alert button. I believe I've taught you that. All you need to do is change this function document.write, change it to alert. So this time around, instead of you to have that, so when you refresh this now, you will see an alert. Can you see alert? And the value is 0. So that's just about that. So for the course of this tutorial, we are just going to stop there. So you can try the other one, the increment operator. The increment, let's just try the increment. You will try the decrement yourself. Increment is when you use a plus plus. Normally a, because for when you use plus plus, it means you want to increase a particular integer value by 1. So if your a before is 10 and use plus plus, that means you want to include it to what? 11. If you use another a plus plus, it will increase that value to what? 12. So that's the meaning of a plus plus. So right now, our a is 10, our b is 20. So if we use b plus plus, then b will turn to what? By the time we alert C out, what will be our C? B, since b plus plus will be what? B plus 20 plus 1, it will be 21. B plus plus is now 21. So C will now 21 will now store inside C. So when you now alert C, it will now be 21 that will be alerted out, because b plus plus is 21 and that 21 will be stored inside C. So you now alert C, then the value we have is what? 21. We still have 20. Why? Sorry, there's an error somewhere. You're supposed to have 21. B. Okay, let's do it this way. Instead of using a variable, maybe that's the mistake we made. Let's comment this line out. So here now, let's use b plus plus. So let's refresh our web page. 20. It's 220. It's like there is an error in the syntax. Let's use plus plus b. maybe I made mistake. Let me use var c equals to, let's use capital letter here, and let's save. It should increase it by 1, or let's go back. Let's say b is equals to b plus plus. So let's use it this way. Let's say you should alert b. So let's refresh our web page. If all is well, we should have 21. Can you see? So we have 21. So that's just b plus. So you can try the order yourself. So let's go to the comparison operator. Here, following comparison operator supported by JavaScript language. Assume a holds 10 and b holds 20. Then when you use double is equals to, what it means is check if the value of the two operands are equal or not. If yes, then continue becomes true. So that's when you make use of a is equals to b. If they are equal, if a is equals to b, then do this. But just note, when you use single is equals to, is what referred to as assignment, like this one that we are using now. So like this one that we are using now, we said a is equals to 10. So this time around, we are trying to assign 10. We are trying to assign a the value of 10. That's it. We are storing the value of 10 inside a. But if we use 2 is equals to, that means we are trying to compare something with something. So just note there is difference between double is equals to and a single is equals to. Single is equals to is to say this is equals to this. That is to say you want to store a value of this inside this. That's the meaning of is equals to. But when you use double is equals to, what you are trying to specify is that you are trying to compare if something is equals to something. So comparison is when we make use of double is equals to, and a single is equals to is when you are trying to assign something. You are sure you want to put, okay, you want to say a is equals to b. My a is equals to b, you are sure. But when you are using double is equals to, you are not sure. You are just saying it that if a is equals to b, do this. Else, if they are not equal. But when you assign, that means you are sure that okay, this value is equals to this value. So that's just the difference between a single is equals to and a double is equals to. So that's just about that. So the is not equals to, this not is equals to. If something is not equals to something, do this. Else, do this. So we have the greater than, we have the less than, we have the greater than equals to, we have the less than equals to. Then we have the logical operator, we have the AND operator, we have the OR operator, the NOT operator, we have the bitwise operator, bitwise AND operator, bitwise AND operator, the bitwise OP operator, the bitwise XOR operator, the bitwise NOT operator, bitwise shift left operator, the bitwise shift right operator, the bitwise shift right with 0 operator. Then we have the assignment operator. The assignment operator is equals to, I've already taught you this, how to assign a value to another value. So the add and assignment operator, when you want to say c is equals to c plus a, when you want to add a value, you know, like c now, let's say c is equals to 20 already, you now say 20 plus the value of a, you now store it again back inside c. That means you are overwriting, you already know that your c is already 20 before. So right now you are trying to store the value of a plus that c, which is 20. You want to store it back inside that c. So that means if the value of a is 5 now, 20 plus 5 will be 25. So c now will now be overwritten. So the value of c that is 20 before will now turn to 25 now. Why? Because you have stored the value of c itself, you have stored its value plus another value, which is the value of a. You now store it back inside c. That means you overwrite the existing value that is present inside c, you overwrite it with the new value. So that's when you make use of the add and assignment operator. We have the subtract and assignment operator, the multiply assignment operator, the divide and assignment operator, the modulus and assignment operator. The another thing that we have is the conditional operator, the conditional expression. That's when we make use of the conditional expression. If condition is true, then value of x, otherwise. Then we have the type of operator. The type of operator is a unary operator that is placed before its single operand, which can be of any type. Its value is a string indicating the data type of the operand. So example is this: the type of we have the number, the string, the boolean, the object, the function, undefined, and the none. While writing a program, there may be a situation whereby you need to adopt one part out of the given two parts. So you need to make use of conditional statement that allows your program to make correct decision and perform right action. So right now, JavaScript supports conditional statements which are used to perform different action based on different conditions. Here we explain if-else statement. So this if the expression. So the expression will not be all the operators that we have been talking about. That's when you make use of the operator. The reason I jumped all these all these different operators is that we are still going to explain them. So that's why I just jump it so that I will not waste our time. But the thing I just did is I just tried to explain them one by one to you so that you understand. But right now we are going to write a program that will make use of all those operators. So example is this. So this is where we make use of the conditional operator, making use of the greater than sign. This is an example. Look at it now. We create a variable. We call the variable 20. We name a variable called age, and we store 20 inside the age. We now say if age is greater than 18, we say document rights qualifies for driving. So if age is truly greater than 18, then we are going to have an output qualifies for driving will be an output. In this statement now, the program, before we run it, what do you think the output will be? Are we going to have qualifies for driving, or we are not going to have anything? The only reason that can make us not to have anything is if age is not greater than 18. But if the age is greater than 18, then we'll have qualifiers for driving. What is the age? Our age is 20, and 20 is greater than 18. Because here now they declare the age, they assign a value to the age. Right now we are not calling for the age. Right now age is 20 because we've already stored 20 inside age already before. So right now we're not calling age. Age is 20. 20 is greater than 18. Then we are going to have qualifiers for driving if we run this program. So let's save this and refresh our web page. So when we refresh this web page now, we should have qualifiers for driving. Can you see? Because why? Because 20 is greater than 18. So we can make use of the else statement. If age is greater than 18, document does write qualified for driving. Else means, that's when we make use of the conditional statement. Else means what? If the age is not greater than 18, that is, if age is lesser than 18, then the condition not qualifies for driving. Not qualifies for what? For driving. So right now, if we save this now, our age is greater than 18, we are still going to have qualified for driving. We are still going to have qualifiers for driving. Can you see? We still have qualifiers for driving. But let's change that 20. Let's change it to 6. Let's change this to 6. Since 6 is not greater than 18, 6 is lesser than 18, then we are not going to have qualified for driving again, because age is, we said if age is greater than 18, but now age is not greater than 18, then it's going to go to the else statement. Not qualified for driving will be our output. So let's refresh this. We are going to see not qualified for driving. So I've already taught you about if else statements, so we don't need to waste our time. Like right now, they say age is 15. Now say if age is greater than 18, normally, truthfully, is age greater than 18? Age is 15 and age is not greater than 18, so it will jump these statements. Then what it will print out will be what does not qualify for driving, will be what will be printed out, because our age is not greater than 18. But if age will have been, if we have assigned 20 to age now, and we say if age is greater than 18, then truthfully 20 is greater than 18, then we are going to have this. Then this will be omitted. But right now, this will be omitted because age is not, this will be omitted because age is not greater than 18. Then the value we are going to have will be what is inside this else. That's why we say that if else. If it happen, do this. Else, do this. That is to say, if it doesn't happen, then do this. So, but it's possible for we to have a lot of expression in a single statement. It's possible for us to have a lot of expression. Like right now, the only expression we have is if. We only have one expression here. So that's why we have if and else. For a single expression, you can have if and else. But it's possible for you to have a multiple expression. And that example is what we are going to do now. Let's see this. We create a variable, we name it book. We store a value mass. We now say if book equals to history. Can you see the difference now? Assuming we are comparing things that are integer, we will not put it inside quotes. That's different between this and the other one that we did in the first example. Look at this now. Because we say var age equals to 15, because 15 is an integer, we don't need to place it inside quotes. And that's why we use them directly, that 15 is greater than 18 directly without placing them inside quotes. But right now, our book is not integer. The math that we want to store inside this book is not integer. Math it comprises of string. And whenever you want to write string has to be inside this quotes. That's why we make use of quotes. But assuming we are trying to write a value as an integer, we don't need to put this quote. We'll just put the integer, maybe 24. We'll just put it directly. And when we want to do the comparison, when we say book, we say is equals to 56 or any other integer that we want to use. We'll not place them inside quotes. But the reason we place this history inside quotes is because the book itself is also a string. And when you are comparing a string, you have to compare a string with a string. You can't compare a string with an integer. It's not possible. You have to compare a string with a string, integer with integer. So if book is an integer, and you want to use if book is equals to, whatever value that is after this is equals to must also be an integer. But right now, since book itself is a string, that value that you want to compare it to, it must also be a string. That's why we place it inside a quote. So we say if book is equals to history, we said it should put an output, it should bring an output history book. But now our book is not equals to history. So the program is going to jump this. Else if book equals to maths, book is truly maths, then we are going to have maths books. We are going to have maths books. Else if books equals to economics, is book equals to economics? No. Then we are going to jump this. Else if is not one of the three, then what the reply should be unknown books. That is, if the book is not history, the book is not maths, the book is not economics, then the return should be unknown book. So let's run this program and see our outputs. Let's refresh this. Can you see the only output we have is math books? Why? Because we say if book is equals to history, it should print this, and the book is not history, to not print it. We say else if book equals to math, it should print this. The book is math, it will print it. Yes, that's the first one. We say else if book equals to economics, it should print this. The book is not economics. Else, that is this else, the final else that we use whenever you use else if, the final one will be what? Will be else. That's what happened in this structure. That's what happened in this structure. We say if, you will start with if expression 1. If expression 1, else if expression 2, else if expression 3, else if expression 4, else if expression 5. Then the last expression that you have will now be else. So that means if it's not all the other expression, then it will now be the last one will now be printed. So that's just the meaning. So if the book is not history, it's not MTS, it's not math, it's not economics, then it has to be an unknown book. But since the book is one of these three, then unknown book will not be printed. But assuming the book is not one of these three, then unknown book is going to be printed. So that's why we have maths books alone. So this is another example. Var book equals to MTS. Okay, it's the one that we run just now. So another thing that we want to do, we want to talk about is the switch statement. Normally we've used if-else statements. Instead of using if-else statements, we can also use the switch statement. I love the switch statement more than the if statement, but irrespective of the one you use, whether you use the if-else statement or use the switch statement, you are still going to arrive at the same results. So let's learn how to use the switch statement. This is just the way, the algorithm, the way you write a switch and case statement. So this is an example of a switch and case statement. It's just like you can also use, you can try it on yourself. This switch statement, you can also make use of if and else statement to do the same thing. You will still arrive at the same results. So but let's just learn this. Here now, we said we create a variable, we name it what? Grade. We said A. We use document.write entering switch block. So once the program load, entering switch block is going to false display. So here now we now use switch. So inside this switch we have the grade. And what is our grade? Our grade is already A. We now say case A. It means that if this thing is A, then it should print out this value. Good job. If the case is B, that's why I said a switch case. We make use of switch case. When you first create the variable, you assign it, then you use switch that variable. Then the variable name is the same thing as A, because the value A is stored inside grade. A. We now say if the case is A, you should do this. But note the pattern. This colon, then it ends with semicolon. Then between the first expression and the second expression, there is a break statement. So that means each of the expression is separated by break, unlike the if and else statements. So we now say if the case is A, it should print this. If the case is B, it should print this. If the case is C, it should print it. If the case is D, it should print this. If the case is F, it should print this. If the case is not any one of between A to F, then you should now use the defaults to print this. So if the case is not A, is not B, is not C, is not D, is not E, is not F, then it will now use a default. And that default is what? It will print unknown grade. But right now, our grade is A, switch A, then the case is just to be A. So what we are going to have is what? Good job. We won't have pretty good because the case is not B. Because the case is A. The grade is A itself. So the case has to be A. So, but assuming grade is equals to C, assuming variable grade is equals to C, so that means the case is C. So we are going to have pass. So let's run this program and see our output. Our output should be good job because the case is A. We should have good job. Good job. Can you see? Good job. I've told you that when you run the program for the first time, before it enter into switch statement, this thing will first display before it enter into switch. That's why we have entry switch block. Can you see? Entry switch block. Then later it enter inside the switch. And what is the case? The case is good job. That's why you have good job. Then at the end, after the switch, there's another document.write existing switch block. That's why you have this. So it's not as if the existing switch block, it's not as if it's inside your case. You've already finished your switch before you put that. So that's just about that. So this is another example. But this time around, note, this time around we do not use the break, but you will see what will happen. We don't make use of the break now. you will see what will happen. Here now that will make use of the break. Since the case is A, it prints good job. We are able to see an output good job. And the case is not B, it's not C, it's not D, it's not F. Because we use break, it break every one of them, as we are not able to see any of these results. So let's use without break. So this is like the program we wrote the other time. It's just the same. It's still the same program. The only difference right now is because we didn't use the break. We didn't break it. So let's see what happened if we didn't break. We didn't break. I've told you that each of the statements has to be before you, when you write a first statement, a first expression, before the next expression, you have to first break. So let's see what happened. Can you see now what happened? Let me just explain to you. Normally the case is A. The result we're supposed to have is good job. But why do you have pretty good? Why do you have everything? The reason we have everything is, even though the grade is A and it's printed out good job, you did not break it. Assuming we write something like break now, it's not going to go to the next step. Once it's gotten the answer, the results, it's just going to stop. It's going to terminate. And it will not reach the next step. To just terminate, and the only thing you will see is what? Good job. The only thing you will see is just this good job. But right now, look at it. We did not break the code. We did not break it. So it's going to print good job. It's going to print pretty good. Even though pretty good, the case is not B, it's still going to print pretty good because you did not break your program. So that means what I'm trying to say is that irrespective of the expression, before you write the next expression, make sure you break it, so that when you finish one expression, you break it, then you write the next expression, so that if the first expression is the correct one, it will not go to the second expression at all. So without going to the next expression, it's not going to print out the next expression results. So, and that is what happened in the previous example, that we break. So once it's gotten its answer, it will just take the answer, then it will throw away other things that is there. It will break it. But right now there is no break, so that is why it's looped throughout all the code and it's bring out all the results. So make sure that if you want something to declare, when you compare something, you want to declare you want it to just print out the results only. Just make use of the break whenever you are using switch statement. Else, if you don't know how to do that, you can use your if else statement. But if you know that you want to, even though the case, you want to know about the case that is correct, you also want to know other cases that are not even correct, you want it to print out everything, then you can use switch and case without using break statements. So while writing a program, there may be a situation where you need to perform some action over and over again. In such situation, you will need to write loop statement to reduce the number of lines. JavaScript supports all the necessary loop to help you on all steps of programming. We are going to talk more on JavaScript in the next chapter. So thank you for being there.